How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether the price is going up or down. CFTC says Ethereum and Litecoin are commodities in their new lawsuit. This is against KuCoin, which targets them for their trading practices. These include unregistered trading of Bitcoin, Litecoin, of which the CFTC now categorize as commodities. They say KuCoin solicited and accepted orders, accepted property to margin, and operated a facility for the trading of futures, swaps, and leveraged merchant or financial retail transactions involving digital assets that are commodities, including Bitcoin, Ether, and Litecoin, the complaint reads. So this is very good because this comes on the heels of the SEC trying to say Ethereum is a security. So if the CFTC is going to claim it as a commodity, then that could be positive for Ethereum ETFs, as they only have about a 25% chance to pass with all the things going on with them. So this could help increase that chance. Remember, that is for a May approval. SEC faces lawsuit seeking to exempt airdrops from securities classification. The US SEC is facing a lawsuit challenging its ability to treat airdrop tokens as securities. On March 25th, the DeFi Education Fund announced it had teamed up with Beba Collection, a Texas-based apparel company, to sue the SEC and try to get the US court to rule that the Beba token does not compromise a securities investment contract. Beba has not received a complaint from the SEC, but they're trying to preemptively seek a court ruling because they know the SEC likes to do regulation by enforcement. The Howey test describes an investment contract as requiring an investment of money. So Beba says that since it is an airdrop and there is no investment of money, this is free money. So they're saying this shows that it cannot be classified as a security under the Howey test. Over on the Dixie for the daily, we do have a long lower shadow candle. This long lower shadow candle is trying to bounce off our EMA, but remember, we could see a rounding top kind of happen if we follow this with a strong red candle. If we do follow this with a strong red candle, that would bring the rest of our crypto market up. As Dixie goes down, Bitcoin and crypto typically go up. Remember, they are inversely correlated. That's why we cover them, because if we see something bad for Dixie, typically it's positive for crypto. The other things you see are Market Cipher B edits and Market Cipher A free version. These are free tools you can use to do your trading. They're what you see here. So Market Cipher A, your EMA colors will be as following: 70% opacity. Your inputs will be as following. Then you'll get the same lines I have. Your Market Cipher B, that is a little more complex, but it does show the money flowing in or out of your asset. Major thing is your blue wave, turn it blue instead of it being the default purple. If you want to see further on anything we cover, remember to visit the Mastering the Trade series and smash that like and subscribe. This long lower shadow does show that the sellers tried to push us down. The buyers are trying to step up and push us forward though. If we can get a strong green candle, this will create a rounding bottom. We have our stochastic, that's this double line, our RSI, which is our red line. These trade together. When our stochastic sells off, our RSI will weaken. When they're above 30, they are typically bullish, meaning they can continue forward. Our other parts of this indicator is our VWAP, momentum, and money flow. As this VWAP, our yellow wave, comes down, that momentum, our blue wave, will round away and weaken as well. If that momentum starts to taper off, our money flow can break this neutral and become more bearish with that VWAP. If we see these three become more bearish, we likely will see price action drop down with them. So remember that money flow will go from being green and it will turn red when we are in a bearish trend, suggesting bears have control over us. Our RSI is weakening on the 4-hour. Stochastic is trying to push forward, but it's not very strong. VWAP is in the bullish territory, but we're flattening out after getting a weak cross. If we taper off and then we get consistent or lower lows, the bears could still gain control of us. So I would exercise caution, watch the 2 and 1 hour. Over on the 2 hours, stochastic does want to round. VWAP is trying to taper off. If that VWAP breaks our neutral, momentum likely will round away. Money flow will remain more toward that bearish territory. We're kind of zigzagging around between bearish and bullish. So if that VWAP breaks that bearish territory, momentum will pull back, and that will cause our money flow to pull back with them. Stochastic does want to round, so if we get this orange above blue, that could help kick off that sell-off. However, if we do continue to consolidate here, we could make a bull flag that would attempt to push us up toward that gapped area. Over on our 1 hour, stochastic is pulling back. Momentum does want to round away with the red dot. VWAP does want to break our neutral, and the money flow is starting to get lower lows. If our VWAP breaks down, momentum pushes out, that money flow will continue to taper off. As that happens, that will weaken the higher time frames, and then we could see our crypto market increase, because if our higher time frames start decreasing on Dixie, then Bitcoin will likely increase. Remember, they are inversely correlated. Over on total, remember, this is all of our altcoins. We did get our full break up now, so we are going to delete this. So that is our pretty much full move for all of our altcoins. That does show we got the full break forward, and we could start to pull back. Exercise caution. We are wicking around where we had our previous highs and struggling to hold this area again. Our RSI is pushing forward despite our stochastic being below our 30. It is trying to break around that 30, so if it can get above 30 and hold, our RSI may remain bullish. VWAP is in the bullish territory. Watch for it to make a bounce off of this neutral or around this neutral. As long as it can stay in the bullish territory, we could continue forward and try to hit that 801 area still. Over on this 4 hour, we did get a pretty strong run up. We got a bit of a sell-off in response to that quick run up, and now we are trying to push back forward and bounce off our support area. If we can solidify this support area and hold above this EMA level, we are likely going to push toward that 801. Stochastic does want to pull back. RSI is starting to taper off. That VWAP is in the bearish territory. Money flow is pushing forward, but if that VWAP and momentum continue down, our money flow will continue down as well. Over on this 2 hour, we do have a long lower shadow. That does show the bears tried to drop us down, but they were unsuccessful. We did have a long upper shadow, which should have meant the bulls were running out of steam. They tried to bring us up and they were unsuccessful. So that does show even candles, no matter what kind of pattern, if it's a candlestick pattern or a multi-candle pattern, they're not 100%. Watch other things, use confluence. Momentum is pulling back. Money flow does want to pull back as well. Our VWAP is starting to round. If this VWAP rejects this neutral, we will have lower lows with lower highs, slightly lower highs. That will create a bearish trend on this 2 hour. If that bearish trend continues over the next day, then we're likely going to see a further breakdown. Over on this 1 hour, RSI is trying to push forward. Stochastic does want to run up. VWAP is trying to push forward, but we're starting to taper off, so I would exercise caution. Momentum does want to push forward, and our money flow is remaining bullish. So if that VWAP can stay above this neutral, our money flow will be able to continue forward. But if this VWAP makes a break, and then we get consistent lows with lower highs, we likely will see the bears regain control, push toward that 743, possibly breaking it and retesting these other EMAs. So exercise caution, but remember, if the bulls do manage to stay in control, then we do have the potential to push to our 801. Around Bitcoin dominance for the daily, we are rejecting away from this point of control. If we continue to see red candles from here, we are likely going to continue lower. Stochastic is trying to push forward. Money flow is starting to taper off. Our VWAP does want to round out. Momentum is getting higher highs, trying to push forward. But if the VWAP continues to lose strength, that momentum will start to pull back as well. Over on the 4 hour, we are still within our flag here, so we do still have the potential to drop. We could be making a double top that could drop us lower, so I would exercise caution as that would kick off the flag. Momentum does want to round with a red dot. VWAP is pulling back. We are breaking through our neutral with a lower high. If we make a lower low here, the bears could gain control of the 4 hour and start to push Bitcoin down, and we could see some of our other coins drop down with it if we don't see our total push forward away from Bitcoin. RSI is weakening, stochastic does want to weaken, so I would exercise caution here. Over on the 2 hour, momentum has bearish divergence, stochastic has bearish divergence, RSI is coming down as the stochastic pushes lower. VWAP is starting to break down, so I would exercise caution. If our VWAP favors more bearish, our momentum will continue lower, and we will see our money flow start to weaken, bringing price action down with it. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic is starting to come down. RSI is weakening. Momentum is starting to push away. That VWAP is getting lower highs and pulling back into the bearish territory. If it continues to favor bearish here with lower lows and lower highs, we will see momentum break down and bring that money flow lower. If that happens on the 1 hour, we will see the higher time frames start to weaken then. Over on our Bitcoin futures for the daily, zoom out so we can get our fixed range volume profiles. We are trying to push above this value area high. We do have a red candle for yesterday's candle or today's candle, however you want to look at it. And we are gapping forward, so we do have a kind of trend of making these gaps forward. That could be setting us up for a pretty drastic drop down if we are not careful. VWAP is in the bullish territory going flat. Money flow is flat in the bullish territory. So if our VWAP pulls back and brings the momentum lower, that money flow will start to lose some strength. Stochastic is trying to rebound. If our stochastic can stay above 30, our RSI will remain bullish and our price action could stay in this range. Over on our 4 hour, we are getting some weak candles, so we do have quite a few gaps here on the 4 hour too. We have a gap here and a gap here, as well as those previous gaps that we made on the way up. Stochastic is starting to round away. Momentum does want to round. RSI is weakening. That VWAP is breaking into the bearish territory, and our money flow is starting to break down with that VWAP. If our VWAP continues to break into the bearish territory, momentum will continue to round, and our money flow will start to weaken more favorable to the bearish territory. We could break this support level then, and then that would be where we would retest those other areas that we have been warning about. Over on this 2 hour, we did make a gap down. We did jump up, filled that gap, and now we are trying to make another gap to the upside. So we could end up breaking down, filling this gap. If we do not hold this 69K, if we do fill that gap, that's where we will see those lower price points. Momentum does want to pull away. VWAP is in the bearish territory. Stochastic is starting to push away. RSI does want to weaken, so I would watch this VWAP closely. If the VWAP gets lower lows with lower highs here, we will see momentum pull back, and then our futures will start to pull back as well, and that will weaken Bitcoin. Remember, futures does dictate Bitcoin price. Over on the 1 hour, we are trying to consolidate here. If we can continue to consolidate, we could make a very loose bull flag, just like back here when we made this gap forward, consolidated, and got a run forward. RSI is overall weakening. Stochastic is overall weakening as well. VWAP is in the bullish territory, getting a higher high, so that could be positive if this is able to be maintained. If our VWAP stays in the bullish territory, we may see price action continue forward, and we would have the potential to still see a new high or a retest of our highs. However, if we see a rejection, our VWAP starts to curl away, momentum pulls back, it's very likely we will retest our 69K and possibly see lower. Over on Bitcoin for the daily, we did push forward with everything else. VWAP is pushing forward. Momentum does want to continue through the neutral. So if this VWAP can stay in our bullish territory, momentum may pull bullish, and then our money flow would remain in the bullish territory without losing strength, and we may be able to push forward still. We would want to watch these lower time frames, because if they are more on the bearish territory, more bearish favor, then it's very likely we would get breakdown. But again, we could be making a flag just like we mentioned on futures, and that flag could try to push us forward. Over on this 4 hour, that would push us right around 75K. Stochastic does want to pull back. RSI wants to head forward. Momentum is pulling back. VWAP is in the bearish territory, and our money flow is bullish. So I would exercise caution if that VWAP starts to favor more toward our bearish territory. If the VWAP continues with lower lows and lower highs, we likely will make a rounding top. Sorry about that. A rounding top would then give us that push down toward our 69K on futures, and then possibly toward that 63K if we are not careful. Over on the 2 hour, we do have more red candles than green, so exercise caution. Momentum is overall pushing down. VWAP is starting to favor more bearish with lower lows. If we curl away, solidify a lower high, momentum could pull back into the bearish territory, and then our money flow would start to weaken. If that happens on this 2 hour, we will start to see the higher time frames start to weaken if that remains over the next few candles. Our money flow is going pretty flat, so if our VWAP pulls back here, momentum will likely break bearish, and that money flow will start to lose strength, which will help break price action lower. Over on this 1 hour, we did get manipulation X that did try to push us lower. It wasn't very successful. Our money flow does want to kind of round away here, so I would watch this VWAP closely. If our VWAP fails to get a new high with higher lows, and then it pulls back into our bearish territory, momentum will likely remain bearish, and money flow will continue to taper off. However, if our VWAP can get higher highs with higher lows here, momentum will push forward, money flow would remain bullish, and that would give us that possibility to see this flag play out. Over on graph for the daily, we did get a pretty decent bounce off our 37,711. RSI is flat, VWAP's going flat, so I would exercise caution, watch those lower time frames. Money flow does want to start to taper, so if our VWAP and momentum round away here, that money flow is likely going to follow. Stochastic is heavy in that bearish territory, and the RSI is starting to curl away, so if our VWAP does not stay in this bullish territory, we likely will see it push to the downside. Over on the 4 hour, we are making a bit of a rounding top. If we cannot solidify some bullish momentum above this green EMA, it's very likely we could round away. This would just be a retest of these quick losses, and then that could set us up to break that 37,711 and then see further slide to that 31,954. Momentum does want to round. We do have that double red dot that did push us lower. Stochastic is dropping down. VWAP did cross bearish, which helped push us lower as well. And our money flow is slightly in that bearish territory. So if our VWAP continues to drop, momentum will continue to weaken, and our money flow could remain bearish then. However, if our VWAP manages to curl, push through neutral, and then continue bullish, we will see this money flow make a bullish trend, and that could help solidify that to the daily and push us forward toward that 49 still. Over on the 2 hour, momentum is starting to pull back, RSI is losing strength, stochastic's pulling back, money flow does want to round, and the VWAP is trying to push up, but if our VWAP rejects here, momentum will favor this bearish territory, and that money flow will start to come down, then that 4 hour will start to weaken, and our daily will not get that strength it needs. RSI on the 1 hour is weakening, stochastic does want to round, VWAP is bullish, but we're struggling, we're starting to taper. If our VWAP breaks through the neutral, we will likely see continued lows, momentum will remain bearish, and our money flow will start to break down more significantly, possibly breaking bearish and bringing the higher time frames lower. Over on Ankr for the daily, we did try to break our value area high and push to our 6707. However, we did get kind of stopped out. This could be a long upper shadow candle that could try to drop us lower if we follow it with a strong red candle and break our point in control. RSI is trying to head forward, VWAP's trying to head up, momentum's heading forward, and our money flow is going flat, not sure where it wants to go, so I would watch the lower time frames, but as long as our VWAP remains bullish, money flow will remain bullish as well. On the 4 hour, we did break our value area high. We are trying to retest it, so if we get a rejection, that's likely where we're going to break that 5172. Our momentum does want to round, stochastic wants to pull back, RSI is pulling back, VWAP is favoring bearish, money flow is starting to taper, so if that VWAP continues to drop lower, momentum will weaken, and that money flow could flip into our bearish territory, so I would exercise caution, don't be fooled. Over on our 2 hour, momentum is starting to push down, stochastic is weakening, it does want to curl. If it can curl forward, we could get another bounce forward, break this EMA band, and try to break our resistance. VWAP is trying to break neutral, so if our VWAP can get higher high, we may see bullish momentum, but currently we have lower highs with lower lows. If that continues, momentum will continue down, and this money flow could weaken, then we could see our higher time frames start to push down as well. Over on our 1 hour, we are starting to round with our RSI. Money flow is starting to taper off. VWAP is indecisive. We do have a lower high, so if we round away and we get a consistent low with this wave like here, so we get another wave like this after a breakdown to the bearish territory, then we will see momentum pull back and money flow will start to taper off more aggressively, as it did try to taper off, but our VWAP is trying to cross bullish, trying to fake that money flow out. If that VWAP breaks down, we start getting long stretches in the bearish territory. We likely will see the higher time frames start to weaken then. So over on XRP for the daily, we are struggling to break this value area high. If we cannot break this value area high tomorrow, we likely will invalidate this rising triangle and push lower, breaking that point of control, possibly trending toward our value area low. RSI does want to curl, stochastic is trying to push forward, VWAP is in the bullish territory, but it's starting to round. If our VWAP continues down, our money flow will start to weaken, as that momentum will start to push down as well. Over on our 4 hour, we are technically under our pattern and trying to break back into it. If we get a rejection with a red candle here, we likely will invalidate this pattern and then push lower. Stochastic does want to drop down. We had bearish divergence. RSI is weakening. VWAP is favoring more toward the bearish territory. If that VWAP continues to favor bearish, momentum will break bearish and our money flow will break as well. Then we will see that daily start to push down more aggressive. Over on the 2 hour, RSI is weakening. Momentum is pushing into the bearish territory. VWAP is starting to round with a lower low. If we solidify a lower high and we do see that VWAP round, we will reject more bearish. Momentum will pull back and our money flow will start to weaken. That will start to weaken those higher time frames and bring us lower. Over on our 1 hour, we do keep hitting this resistance area, but we just can't break through it. If on the next couple candles we do not break through and we end up on the lower end of this EMA, it's very likely the bears will gain control. RSI does want to round, stochastic does want to push forward, momentum does want to push up, but our VWAP is struggling. If that VWAP pushes down and we see a rejection here, we likely will solidify this rejection of our pattern, and then we will push to our lower EMAs and then possibly push to our 57 support. Over on ALGO for the daily, we did hit our 2808 and we are kind of hanging up right around this area. Stochastic, or 2848, sorry. Stochastic is pushing forward, RSI is pushing forward, VWAP is bullish, momentum does want to push forward, so we do look pretty decent. This could be creating a cup. If we get a drop, then we get bounced. We could make a handle and then see it break forward to our 34 area, but that would be if the rest of the market can remain bullish. Over on our 4 hour, we are starting to curl away, could be making that handle. Stochastic wants to pull back, momentum wants to pull back, VWAP's in the bearish territory, money flow is pushing forward, but if our VWAP starts to reject this neutral, momentum will pull back and that money flow will start to weaken over time. Over on the 2 hour, we are trying to consolidate. If we can consolidate here, we could make a bull flag to push us up, but momentum's pulling back, stochastic's weakening, RSI could start to curl, VWAP is favoring bearish, so if our VWAP breaks away from this neutral, pulls back, and gets consistent lows, we will have more bearish favor, momentum will likely pull back, and that money flow would weaken. That would then weaken the higher time frames, and we would likely push to our 25 support. Over on our 1 hour, RSI is weakening, stochastic does want to push forward. If our stochastic can remain above 30, RSI could stay bullish, VWAP is trying to break bullish, momentum does want to remain bullish, and our money flow is trying to cling onto the bullish territory as well. If our VWAP can make higher highs with higher lows here, momentum will push forward, will break resistance, and will continue up. However, if our VWAP starts to pull back, we see it break bearish, then we're likely going to push our 25 and possibly lower. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a great night.